The Sons of Behemat are gargants that found their purpose and became more unified after the death of the god-beast Bahamut, their patron. These gargants are now growing stronger and larger, and speak of the coming of a new world titan ready to wreak destruction upon the mortal realms. Hello everyone and welcome to Sinful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the Grey. Today we're going to be doing another video looking at getting started with an army, and today that army is the Sons of Behemat. Now normally we do break these down into sub-faction specific videos, but with Sons of Behemat there's not really that much to talk about in the way of sub-factions, so we're going to tackle the whole army in one video. Now, let's start looking, I guess, at the basics of the army. And, well, I guess the biggest selling feature of this army is that it is an army of giants. It is just an army of absolutely massive monstrosity gargants. And, as you would think, it has a rather low model count as well. Generally at 1,000 points, well, there is only a way to run 1,000 points, as we'll show later. And you'll have 4 models in the army, that's it. But generally, you can play roughly about 5 to 10 models in an army at 2,000 points, and yes, I did say 5. This army definitely is low model count, but the models themselves are huge. As you can see in the picture I've got on screen here, they are just absolutely massive, this kit. Now, I will warn people that this can be an expensive army to get into. The gargants themselves, all variations, are rather expensive, as you would expect with big kits, even maybe a little bit more than you would expect. But that's not what we're here for. We're here to talk about actually getting into them. So if you've decided to take that plunge into getting gargants, well, as mentioned, you've got a small model count army that does a lot of damage. There's a lot of ways you can buff up these gargants to get them to do various things on the table, and they also play the game of Age of Sigmar very well with some really unique rules for scoring objectives. For instance, all the Man Crusher gargants, your little baby gargants, count as 10 models. They can count as 15 if they're taken in the Taker tribes, but the large ones also count as 20. So this gives them some good tactical play on the battlefield and really makes up for their lack of numbers. It also means that players are having to kill your gargants dead in order to take objectives off you, which is easier said than done when some of them are 35 to 40 wounds each. But let's start looking at where we go to begin a Sons of Behemat army. So getting started with the Sons of Behemat army is quite easy. First of all, you need to pick your Mega Gargant of choice. These are the only hero options within the faction, and the Mega Gargant, when I'm talking about it, means the kraken-eater, the Gatebreaker, and the War Stomper, the 3 new big Gargant kits. So for a 1,000-point army, there is only one way to build a list, and that is taking 1 Mega Gargant and a unit of 3 Man Crusher Gargants. So obviously you're going to need to pick up 3 Man Crusher Gargants as well. The Man Crusher Gargant kit cops a lot of hate, but I personally am a big fan of it. It's got a great ton of versatility for me, and you can build these Gargants in a lot of different ways. Having a bunch throughout your army, they'll all look individual, unique, which is really cool, and what you want from an army of big monsters. You want to make them all able to stand out from each other. The Mega Gargant really is all up to you. You've got a bunch of different choices. The kraken-eater has some really techie play with counting as more models. Meanwhile, the Gatebreaker has abilities that allow it to destroy enemy terrain. And the War Stomper is very much your horde killy one. All of them have uses on the tabletop in various different ways. For me, though, I personally rate the kraken-eater as the one I would go to start with. Personally, it's my favorite model out of all of them as well, but it also has the tech enabling you to play in low point games. The fact it counts as 30 models rather than 20, and the Man Crushers count as 15 rather than 10, this really allows them to just go along the board in small point games and take control of objectives as needed. But once we've got this basis sort of started out, where do we go to from here in such a small and limited faction? So where do we go to next? Well, definitely my next protocol would be exploring the other Mega Gargants. What's really cool with Sons of Behemat is when you take a unit of 3 Man Crusher Gargants, they actually count as 3 battle line units when they're being done like that. So this means you're actually free to just have 3 Man Crushers in a unit, that's all your battle line, and you could, at 2,000 points, just take one of each variation of Mega Gargant and call it a day. The other Mega Gargants, as mentioned, have some unique ways to play, and especially if you're wanting to change up that first 1,000 points, you can change this up how you play by choosing your Mega Gargant. Effectively, the sub-faction for Sons of Behemat is decided by which Mega Gargant is your general. So you will get different effects from having a kraken-eater to a gatebreaker to a war stomper, depending on which one is your general. They effectively make it a particular different tribe based on which one you've picked. You can always take more man crushers as well. For every Mega Gargant you're not taking, you can fit in 3 man crushers in the same spot, which is cool. I definitely recommend when you're playing in other ones that maybe the best way people seem to be going is 2 units of man crushers and 2 Mega Gargants, and potentially with those 6 man crushers that you've got, people like to maybe split up the second unit into like either a 2 and a 1 or 3 1s, 3 solo man crushers, just giving you the ability to go across the board. Talking about this with other people, there seems to be a little bit of confusion. At the moment, Forge World have not updated the War Scrolls, and they are in the current, as it seems, of removing a lot of models from their range. So the Forge World Bone Grinder Giant is a fantastic looking model that maybe would serve a good purpose as an alternate Mega Gargant. If you've got the same Mega Gargant in your force already, you might want a different version of it. But for me, it's certainly something you can do. But I wouldn't honestly rush out to buy it because, as mentioned, Forgewood are discontinuing it, so the rules for it haven't actually got an update to even have Sons of Behemat on it, so it's definitely something I would maybe stay away from for the time around. But for now, let's get looking at a little sample list I've thrown together just to give you an idea of how you can start to play with Sons of Behemat. Obviously, this is going to be 1,000 points. The Sons of Behemat are quite limited in their 1,000 point lists, but let's have a look at one anyway. So we're going to make a sample list here of 1,000 points of Sons of Behemat, and as mentioned, there are some limits to when we do this, but for me, we're going to start by having a kraken-eater Mega Gargant. So the kraken-eater has some really cool abilities. First and foremost is that when you take them in the Taker tribe, they're going to get the get rid of them rule, which means that the Mega Gargants are going to count as 30 models in this army, and the Man Crushers, the little baby Gargants, are going to count as 15 each, meaning that unit of 3 Man Crushers you can see there is going to count as 45 models. In 1,000 points, that's a lot of bodies. More stuff from your collection is another rule that they get, where each time a model with an artifact of power is slain by one of your man crushers, you can roll on the triumph table and get a new triumph, which is really cool. And triumphs for Sons of Behemat can come in really, really handy. Let's talk a little bit about that kraken-eater. So he's got a strong right foot as his command trait because he's our general. Now, strong right foot allows him to kick objectives, because something we haven't mentioned that Sons of Behemat can do is kick objectives around the table. This is a really cool rule, and there are some really techie plays you can do with this kicking the objectives, where if you kick them into different zones, they begin costing different points. But he can effectively kick it 3d6 instead of 2d6, which is really cool. He's then going to have an artifact, which is the Kraken Skin Sandals, and these help his almighty stomp attacks go up to an attack characteristic of 3 rather than 2, have a rend of 3 rather than rend 2, and damage of 3 instead of d3, making him that little bit more reliable and deadly with those damage from his mighty kicks, because he's got some nice Nikes on. And then, as mentioned, for battle line, we've got a unit 3 Man Crusher Gargants, because that's all we can do here. We don't have any other options for battle line. You can't take them separate at 1,000 points, or they cost just over 1,000 points. As I believe it's 180 each, which puts them just over, or you get them at a discount cost, which allows you to fit them inside an army at 1,000 points. But you can definitely play around with some of the other Gargants in this build and really play to a style you like. But for me, this is the way I like to go with 1,000 points. But I'd like to know your thoughts on Sons of Behemat. I've had a lot of fun actually playing against them at 1,000 points. I haven't personally put them on the table, but I've played quite a few games against them now, and they're just a ton of fun to play against, and my opponents love playing with them. They're just such a fun army to have on the table, and are surprisingly competitive. But let us know what you think down in the comments below. Well, thank you all for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Also, if you'd like to come chat with me and other members of our fine community, you can do so by following the link down to our Discord server in the description of the video below. Also, would like to give a special shout out to everyone who supports the channel via Patreon or YouTube members. And they are our Sinful Guard Militia members Christian Weir, Philip Ward, Soren, Kenny Lowell, Alder and Shot First, Chaos Spawn and James Crowder, and our Free Guild Regiment members James and AJC. Thank you all so much for your support. If you'd like to help support the channel like these fine gentlemen do, then you can do so by either clicking the link to follow to our Patreon down in the description of the video, or by joining the YouTube channel. That's it for today though, folks. Thank you all for watching once again. Stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now.